The vast expanse of space was a lonely place, especially when things went wrong. High above the Earth, the sleek spacecraft that carried Princess Seraphel of Valera was in dire straits. The engines, once a marvel of alien engineering, now spewed trails of smoke as the ship spiraled uncontrollably towards the planet's surface. Inside the cockpit, alarms blared and lights flashed in urgent reds and oranges, warning of the imminent crash. Princess Seraphel, a figure of regal beauty and composed strength, was strapped into her seat, her knuckles white as she gripped the armrests. Her mind raced through her options, each as bleak as the space around her. The diplomatic mission to Earth, meant to be a peaceful outreach, had turned into a nightmare. An act of sabotage, precise and crippling, had left her helpless above a world she barely knew. As the Earth's atmosphere clawed at the hull of her ship, fiery tendrils eating away at the alien metal, Seraphel braced for impact. The ship hurtled through the sky, a falling star descending not with wishes but with desperation. It crashed into the dense forests of North America with a thunderous roar, trees splintering, earth heaving under the force of the alien technology. Nearby, Jack Harrison, an ex-aerospace engineer with a rugged build and an intuitive mind, was hiking through the forest, seeking solitude away from the complexities of human civilization. The sudden roar of the crash drew his gaze upward, and he witnessed the alien craft's descent. His heart raced with a mix of fear and curiosity. Without a second thought, he grabbed his emergency pack and sprinted towards the crash site. The scene that awaited him was one of chaos. The alien ship, now a twisted wreck, lay smoldering among the shattered trees. Flames licked at its broken wings, and dark smoke rose into the clear sky. Moving closer, Jack's training took over. He surveyed the area for any immediate danger before approaching the wreckage. His steps were cautious, aware of the potential hazards of alien technology and the unknown conditions of the spacecraft occupant. Inside the wreckage, he found Princess Seraphel. Her appearance was exotic, with iridescent skin that shimmered in the light filtering through the smoke and eyes that held the depth of the cosmos. She was unconscious, slumped over controls that flickered with dying light. Jack checked for signs of life and sighed in relief when he found a steady pulse. He gently lifted her from the debris, careful not to cause further injury, and carried her to a clearing. As he administered first aid, Seraphel's eyes fluttered open. Confusion gave way to fear as her gaze fixed on Jack. "Who are you?" she murmured in a voice that resonated with a subtle, musical quality. "I'm Jack. I'm here to help," he replied, offering a reassuring smile. "You crashed on Earth. Do you remember anything?" Her memory seemed foggy, but as the events leading up to the crash returned, so did her sense of duty. "I must contact my people," she insisted, struggling to rise. "Can you help me?" Jack nodded, aware that helping Seraphel could draw him into a wider universe of intrigue and danger. But looking into her grateful, determined eyes, he felt a resolve building within him. He would help her, come what may, setting the stage for an adventure neither of them could have anticipated. Together, they would need to navigate the challenges ahead, not only to ensure her survival, but to avert a potential catastrophe that could engulf both their worlds. As they prepared to leave the safety of the clearing, the forest around them seemed to hold its breath, the quiet before the storm of their journey. In the shadowed silence of the forest, Jack and Seraphel moved swiftly. Jack, familiar with the terrain, led the way, while Seraphel, still weak from the crash, relied on his guidance. Her mind was a whirl of thoughts, her focus split between recovering from her ordeal and the mission that brought her to this verdant planet. As they trekked through the dense underbrush, Seraphel explained her situation in greater detail. Her ship had been sabotaged by unknown adversaries who opposed her diplomatic mission to Earth. These adversaries, she suspected, were not just rivals from her own star system, but might include mercenaries hired to intercept her before she could forge any Earth alliances. Jack listened intently, his mind racing with the implications of her story. The wilderness suddenly felt more threatening, knowing that danger pursued them. He glanced at Seraphel, her royal demeanor unbroken despite her circumstances, and felt a surge of protective resolve. They needed a safe place to strategize and possibly communicate with her people. "I know an old ranger station a few miles from here," Jack suggested. "It's abandoned but should have some equipment we might use to get your message out." Grateful, Seraphel nodded, and they increased their pace. But as they moved, the subtle signs that they were not alone began to manifest. Unnatural noises, the snap of a twig too forceful, the rustle of leaves too brisk, suggested they were being followed. Using hand signals to communicate, Jack and Seraphel maneuvered through a particularly dense thicket. Jack's experience as a wilderness guide was invaluable as he led Seraphel in evasive patterns, designed to confuse their pursuers. Their journey was abruptly interrupted when a drone, buzzing angrily like a hornet, shot past them, its sensors locked onto their movement. Jack pulled Seraphel down just as the drone fired a net, designed to entangle its targets with energy fibers that would immobilize them. "Stay down," Jack whispered, as he rummaged through his pack, pulling out a small makeshift EMP device he'd cobbled together from old projects. He waited for the drone to circle back. With precise timing, he threw the device, disabling the drone with a crackle of blue electricity. It fell to the forest floor with a thud, its lights dimming. "That was too close," Seraphel breathed out, her voice tense. "It's going to get worse," Jack replied. "Whoever is after you, they're not giving up easily." As night fell, they reached the ranger station. It was a rustic, single-room cabin, with dusty windows and an old radio set that looked like it hadn't been used in years. While Seraphel rested, Jack set to work on the radio, adjusting dials and rewiring components with practiced hands. Finally, with a burst of static, the radio crackled to life. Seraphel dictated a message in her language, a series of melodious tones that Jack found strangely beautiful. They sent the message into the cosmos, hoping her people would receive it and send help. But their relief was short-lived. As Jack scanned the darkening woods with night vision binoculars, he spotted shadows moving with purpose through the trees. They weren't just being hunted by drones. The mercenaries had arrived, and they were closing in. Knowing the cabin would not protect them for long, Jack and Seraphel prepared for a confrontation. Jack gathered various tools and makeshift weapons, while Seraphel, pulling from her own knowledge of combat, set traps around the perimeter. As the first of the mercenaries approached, stepping into a trap that ensnared him in a tangle of ropes, Seraphel and Jack readied themselves. This was just the first wave, and they knew they had to hold out until help arrived. Each shadow in the forest potentially hid an enemy, and each moment could be their last in this deadly game of interstellar cat and mouse. The hunt had begun, and survival was far from certain. Inside the dimly lit ranger station, Jack and Seraphel worked through the night, fortifying their temporary haven and recovering from their narrow escapes. The cabin, with its creaking wood and musty smell of old pine, felt increasingly like a besieged fortress as the sounds of the encroaching mercenaries filled the silent forest. Jack took a moment to watch Seraphel as she meticulously checked her communication device, a small, intricate piece of technology that looked out of place against the rustic backdrop of the cabin. Despite the danger, her focus was unyielding, a testament to her duty and resolve. "Tell me more about Valera," Jack whispered, needing a distraction from the tension. "You speak of it with such fondness." Seraphel paused, her expression softening. "Valera is unlike any place you could imagine," she began, her voice carrying the gentle lilt of nostalgia. "Our cities float upon the oceans, vast and interconnected. The water glows with bioluminescence at night, casting a light so magical it seems as though the stars have descended to the waves. We are a people of peace, scholars and diplomats, who once thought the stars would welcome us as kin." As she spoke, Jack could see the pride and the sorrow intermingled in her eyes. The pride in her culture and people, and the sorrow of being so far from home under such dire circumstances. "Why come to Earth?" he asked, genuinely curious about what Earth could offer to such a seemingly advanced civilization. Curiosity, hope for new alliances, new knowledge, Seraphel explained. But also, Earth is unique, vibrant with life and diversity. We hope to learn from you as much as share our own knowledge. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden crackling from the radio, a return message from Valera, garbled and weak. Seraphel rushed to adjust the settings, her fingers deft over the alien controls. The message was brief, confirming that a rescue mission was underway, but it would take time. "We need to hold on a little longer," she said, her voice determined. Jack nodded, his own resolve hardened by her words. They would stand together, whatever came. With the break of dawn, the mercenaries made their move. They came in waves, using technology that seemed to bend the light around them, rendering them nearly invisible. Jack and Seraphel had prepared for this, scattering homemade caltrops and tripwires around the cabin. The first wave was chaotic. As mercenaries triggered traps, the forest erupted in noise, shouts of pain, the clang of metal, and the zapping sound of disabled tech. Jack used his knowledge of the terrain to their advantage, leading attacks from hidden angles, while Seraphel provided covering fire with a weapon salvaged from her ship. As the fight ensued, Jack marveled at Seraphel's combat prowess. She moved with a grace that belied her diplomatic nature, her shots precise and deadly. Together, they managed to repel the first few attackers, but both knew this was just the beginning. The mercenaries would regroup and come back harder. During a brief respite, as they checked their ammunition and improvised weapons, Seraphel continued to share more about her world. "Valera values knowledge above all," she said. "We believe every species has something to teach, something to contribute to the tapestry of the cosmos." Jack listened, understanding now that what they were fighting for was more than just survival. It was about defending those ideals of knowledge and unity. The cabin, once just a shelter, had become a symbol of their stand against those who sought to silence such exchange. As they prepared for the next wave, Jack felt a profound connection to Seraphel's mission. They were not just fighting to survive. They were fighting for the potential of what Earth and Valera could accomplish together. This thought bolstered his spirit as the shadows around the cabin began to move once more, heralding the next assault. The echoes of Valara's ideals rang loudly in their resolve, ready to face whatever came next. As the shadows lengthened and the light dimmed around the ranger station, Jack and Seraphel prepared for the inevitable next wave of mercenaries. They had managed to repel the initial attacks, but each skirmish drained their resources and energy. The air was tense, charged with the anticipation of conflict and an underlying current of something deeper, something personal growing between them. In the quiet moments between attacks, they found solace in each other's stories. Jack shared his past as an aerospace engineer, his dreams of space that had shifted to the simpler, grounded life of a wilderness guide after a family tragedy had reshaped his world. Seraphel listened, her usual poise softened by the glow of the single lantern lighting the cabin, seeing the man who had faced so much yet still stood so strong. "The stars brought you to me, didn't they?" Jack half-joked, trying to lighten the mood despite the seriousness of their situation. "Perhaps they did," Seraphel replied with a small, wistful smile. "In my culture, we believe the stars guide our destinies in ways we may not always understand, but should always be grateful for." Their conversation was cut short as sensor Seraphel had rigged from parts of her damaged communicator began to beep urgently. The mercenaries were regrouping for another assault, this time likely aware of the traps and prepared for Seraphel's combat tactics. "We need to be smarter," Jack said. "We can't just rely on what we've set up. They'll expect that now." Together, they reconfigured the cabin's defenses, setting up decoys and rerouting some of the tripwires to create new pathways of retreat. Seraphel adjusted the settings on her energy weapon to create a wider field of impact, albeit at the expense of rapid-fire capability. As night enveloped the forest, the mercenaries attacked again. This time, they came more cautiously, scanning the area with advanced detection gear. The battle commenced with a flurry of energy blasts and the sharp crackle of disrupted electronics. Jack and Seraphel moved as a unit, their actions synchronized after hours of fighting side by side. During a particularly close encounter, Jack found himself pinned down by heavy fire. Seraphel, noticing his plight, didn't hesitate. She leaped into the fray, her weapon discharging with a brilliant pulse that knocked their assailants off balance. Jack used the moment to roll to safety, his heart pounding not just from the close call, but from the realization of how much Seraphel had come to mean to him. As they regrouped, their hands touched briefly, electric, intentional. They shared a look, acknowledging the depth of their bond without words. It was a silent vow, a promise of protection and partnership no matter the outcome. "We make a good team," Jack said, his voice low and earnest. "We do," Seraphel agreed, her eyes reflecting the flames of the nearby fires, and something much warmer. Not just in battle. The night wore on, filled with the sounds of combat and the quieter moments of shared vulnerability. They discussed strategies and contingencies, but also dreams and hopes for the future, a future both uncertain and tantalizing. As dawn broke, signaling a temporary retreat of the mercenaries, Jack and Seraphel were left standing amidst the wreckage of their defense. Exhausted but alive, their companionship had blossomed into something neither could deny, a bond forged in adversity, promising not just mutual survival but a profound connection. This alliance of the heart was their new strength, and as they faced the horizon, they knew that together, they could face much more than either had ever imagined. The battle was far from over, but with each other, they had found a reason to fight harder and a potential for happiness in a once unlikely alliance. After surviving the relentless waves of mercenaries, Jack and Seraphel finally received confirmation that her people were close to Earth, their rescue mission nearly complete. The brief respite allowed them to strengthen their defenses and prepare for what they hoped would be the final confrontation. As they awaited the arrival of the Valoran rescue ship, Seraphel took the opportunity to explain more about the political landscape of her galaxy, which was marked by a fragile coalition of diverse planets. The Galactic Council, a body she served as a diplomat, was responsible for maintaining peace and order across systems, a task complicated by the various interests and cultures of its members. "The Council is often divided," Seraphel explained, her voice laced with frustration. "Many members are wary of new alliances, fearing they might shift the balance of power. My mission to Earth was not just about forming a new alliance, but proving that Earth can be a valuable member of the galactic community." Jack listened, his mind racing with the implications of her words. His previous life as an aerospace engineer hadn't prepared him for the complexities of interstellar politics, but his time with Seraphel had opened his eyes to the broader universe. As the Valoran ship entered Earth's atmosphere, a sense of hope surged through them. However, their relief was short-lived. The mercenaries, realizing their target was about to escape, launched a desperate final assault. This time, they were not just trying to capture Seraphel. They intended to ensure she did not leave Earth alive. The battle that ensued was fierce and chaotic. Using the last of their resources and the strategic traps they had set around the cabin, Jack and Seraphel fought with a desperation and determination driven by the hope of rescue and the promise of a future together. Seraphel, showcasing her combat skills, moved with a grace and precision that left Jack in awe, while Jack's quick thinking and engineering skills created opportunities for them to push back against their attackers. Just as the mercenaries seemed to be getting the upper hand, the skies lit up with the brilliant lights of the Valoran rescue ship. Its arrival was timely, and its presence changed the tide of the battle. With advanced weaponry and shielding, the ship provided the necessary cover for Jack and Seraphel to make their escape to the landing site. Once aboard the ship, the atmosphere was tense. The crew was wary of Jack, an unknown human, but Seraphel's presence and her obvious trust in him eased their concerns. As the ship ascended, leaving Earth's atmosphere, Seraphel took Jack's hand, a gesture that spoke volumes about her feelings toward him. Upon reaching Valera, Seraphel presented Jack to the Galactic Council. The chamber was vast and filled with representatives from countless species, each with their own unique forms and attire. Jack, standing beside Seraphel, felt out of his depth but was determined to stand strong for her sake. Seraphel spoke passionately about her journey, her voice echoing in the massive hall. She talked about Earth, its potential for galactic partnership, and the man who had risked everything to help her. Her speech, while diplomatic, was also deeply personal. She emphasized how Jack's courage and kindness were emblematic of the larger potential for humans to contribute to the galactic community. The council listened, intrigued and moved by the story. Discussions ensued, debates filled with a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Jack, witnessing the dynamics of galactic politics, felt a newfound respect for Seraphel's role and responsibilities. As the meeting concluded, the council agreed to consider Seraphel's proposal more deeply, recognizing the bravery and integrity she and Jack had shown. Though the future of Earth's alliance with Valera remained uncertain, the seeds of trust and partnership had been sown, thanks to the strength and unity displayed by a princess and a human from two very different worlds. Back on Earth, after their harrowing adventures and the significant political deliberations on Valera, Seraphel and Jack found themselves at a crossroads of their own making. The Galactic Council had not only recognized Earth as a potential ally, but had also begun to see the value in human contributions to the wider universe, thanks in no small part to Jack's bravery and Seraphel's advocacy. Their return to Earth was marked by a sense of triumph, but also a heavy responsibility. They had to prepare humanity for the new realities of joining a galactic community. The world's governments and the public were buzzing with questions and concerns about what this alliance would mean for their future. Jack and Seraphel, now seen as ambassadors of this new interstellar relationship, worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between human and alien perceptions. Their first task was to address the world's leaders and the general public in a broadcast that would be seen around the globe. Standing together in front of the world's press, Seraphel spoke eloquently about the possibilities of shared knowledge and technology, her tone both inspiring and conciliatory. She emphasized the benefits of the alliance, from advances in science and medicine to the protection against common threats. Jack, for his part, shared his personal experiences, his voice earnest and heartfelt. The universe is vast, filled with wonders and dangers alike, he explained. But in the face of the unknown, we find our true strength. Together, Seraphel and I faced unimaginable challenges, and through them, we found a partnership that transcends worlds. Their message was well received, sparking a wave of optimism and curiosity across Earth. People began to look up at the stars not as distant, cold points of light, but as destinations, as homes of potential friends and allies. As the days turned into weeks, Jack and Seraphel continued their efforts, participating in cultural exchanges and helping to set up the first Earth-Valar liaison office. Their work laid the groundwork for future exchanges and joint missions, setting a precedent for cooperation and mutual respect. In the midst of their busy schedules, Jack and Seraphel found time for each other, their relationship blossoming amidst their shared duties. Their love, born in the crucible of conflict, grew deeper with each shared experience, becoming a symbol of the unity they championed. The story of their initial meeting, their fight for survival, and their pivotal role in bringing their worlds together resonated far and wide, inspiring others to look beyond their differences and towards a future of possibility. In the concluding ceremony marking the official establishment of the Earth-Valar Alliance, Jack and Seraphel stood side by side, looking out at a crowd of human and alien faces. The gratitude Seraphel expressed in her closing speech was profound, not just for Jack's role in her survival, but for the vision he helped realize, a vision of unity and shared destiny. Our gratitude goes beyond words, Seraphel said, her hand clasped in Jack's. It reaches into the heart of what we have accomplished. Today, we stand together not as representatives of different worlds, but as partners in the vast, uncharted expanse of space. Let us move forward with open hearts and unyielding courage, for together, There is nothing we cannot face. The crowd erupted in applause, a sound that carried across the airwaves to countless homes, human and otherwise. It was a sound of hope, a celebration of new beginnings and the promise of a united future, echoing across a once divided universe.